28. And I'll bring on our own border correspondent, Oscar Ramirez, to give us details on that. And then later, the rescissions package will be voted on today. If passed, the cuts influenced by the DOGE will be made permanent, saving taxpayers from contributing to useless projects that are not in the interest of most Americans. All that coming up. At first, I want to start right here. The anti-U.S. riots, the anti-American riots, the anti-immigration riots we're seeing in L.A. and other American cities are no doubt a side effect of what we witnessed in the previous administration. The Biden administration, that is, of course, that let in about as many as 20 million illegals, opening the border for all to come, from normal everyday people to dangerous violent gang members and human traffickers. And I don't blame Joe Biden. He barely knew what was going on during his presidency, considering his prostate cancer diagnosis and the dementia we all saw. I blame whoever was using the auto pen within that administration who ultimately allowed thousands of illegals to come into the country without any documentation or proof of who they are or what they intended to do here. Make no mistake, what we're seeing now is a direct side effect of open borders and the use of the auto pen. Here with me to discuss this, United States Congressman from North Carolina, Mark Harris. Mark, nice to see you again. Thanks for coming on. I do appreciate it. Look, what we're seeing in California and what is threatened for this weekend with this No Kings demonstration being set for, 1,500 cities, it's giving a permission slip to burn, to throw bricks at cop cars, to attack federal buildings, state buildings, and anybody else that gets in the way. I think Donald Trump's reaction was proper in Los Angeles, but I think it could be a lot uglier around the country come Saturday. What are your concerns?
Well, one of the things, Steve, first of all, thank you for having me here this afternoon. I got to tell you, when we watched the things unfold in Los Angeles over last weekend and into this week, it's been fascinating to see, and are very grateful that President Trump stepped up to the plate as we would have expected he would, and said this is just not going to be tolerated. And he's doing exactly what we would hope he would do, and that is sending the National Guard in there to protect these federal ICE agents and federal buildings in the process. Too many of us remember looking back and watching Minneapolis burn as people just stepped back and watched it happen. And I think that the steps that have been taken are proper, and we're standing with the president. And I feel like that Los Angeles is recognizing that he's going to do what he said, and he means what he says.
Yeah, on ABC News, I saw them say, and I can't even believe I have to say this, they're just some people having fun watching cars burn. That was a quote from a reporter from ABC News on the network. Just a few people having fun burning cars, Mark. You know, no big deal. Well, what's wrong with that? Seriously.
Yeah.
What's wrong with these people?
Well, it was probably the worst thing of the whole situation we watched was when America got a chance to see what it looks like when you've got on one side of the screen the mayor and the governor, Gavin Newsom, saying we've got it all under control. We don't need any help here. This is all fine. And on the other side of the screen, you literally are watching 6, 8, 10, maybe a dozen police cars burn, and one of them exploded right there on the right side of the screen as I was watching. And then you watch people throwing scooters and everything over a bridge onto highway patrol cars from California. And listen, the people of California need to be thankful that President Trump recognizes as the president that he has a responsibility for law and order, and he has a responsibility to protect American citizens. And that's exactly what he set out to do.
You know, and that's just the beginning, and that's why I'm concerned about what happens on Saturday. Last night, New York City, a Molotov cocktail thrown over a fence with barbed wire, razor wire. I think 9 New York Police Department NYPD cars went up in flames behind a chain link fence with wire on top. Somebody threw a Molotov cocktail over. How many felonies do we have to endure? I just saw that Senator Padilla, Alex Padilla of California, had to be taken out of a press conference with Kristi Noem because he became aggressive, yelling over Kristi Noem at this press conference. The Democrats don't seem to understand this is not selling with the American people. And how do I know? Well, CNN had a poll on just yesterday showing that in 2020, Congressman, those that came to this country legally, legal immigrants, supported Democrats by 32 points. As of yesterday, It's now +8 for the Republicans. That's a 40-point swing from legal immigrants in this country. And if that doesn't tell you everything you need to know, then you're not paying attention. What do you say?
I say you're exactly right. In fact, I saw actually on CNN a clip of a Democrat strategist who was actually really just admonishing all of these Democratic leaders around the country, and particularly in California, when he said, you know, when we ought to be talking about the issues, talk about the rescission package, talk about reconciliation, find something, but instead Democrats are wanting to talk about immigration and are playing right in to what President Trump's sweet spot is, because he ran on this issue. He said he was going to secure the border. He said he was going to round up those illegal aliens that are criminals here in our country and send them back. And he's made good on those promises. He's still making good on those promises even today. And even this Democratic strategist was again admonishing the people that they're screwing up bad with their messaging here.
Yeah, you know, smashing and burning police cars, attacking women. I saw a clip of a woman just trying to get to work. She was mocked and laughed at by the people blocking the streets. She just wanted to go to work. This does not sell for mainstream America. It does not. You're right about that. All right, I need to switch gears a little bit to the rescission package. I know you've got to get out of here in the next 2 or 3 minutes so you can go over and cast your vote today. I think that Congressman Norman, your colleague, told me here just a short while ago that it will expose every person that is a Republican as to whether or not they are conservative or not. He says you should hold a vote like this every single week, did Ralph Norman. Do you agree with that?
I agree with it 100%. I went on the floor in debate, and I got 1 minute. There were a lot of people wanting to speak, and in my 1 minute, I made it clear that there's no way that we as Republicans have been running for years that we are fiscal conservatives, and we have in front of us a softball that is being pitched across the plate. And if we can't knock this out of the park, we've got bigger problems. It's $9.4 billion. And to me, it is the greatest test if we really are committed to doing government differently, which is why we were elected in November of 24 to come up here. We were given the trifecta. It's time for us in Congress to step up and pass this rescission package. And I'm hoping in the next few minutes we're going to see it happen.
All right, real quickly then, Hakeem Jeffries on the other side of the aisle says that you guys are attacking Big Bird because you want to defund NPR and PBS. You're attacking Big Bird. My concern for the Democrats is this. What's more important, Big Bird or middle-class families in America? PBS and NPR can be on the same competitive playing field as this network and everybody else. They only get 10 or 15% from taxpayers. Why should they get anything? My network doesn't. Other networks don't. Why do they think that they're privileged and entitled to that? That's what I would ask, sir. I'll give you the last word.
Well, I think you're exactly right. They are not privileged. They don't deserve that. And let's face it, you look at their records, they are certainly leftist propaganda in so many cases. And the reality is the First Amendment says that, or does not say that we have to fund leftist propaganda on the American taxpayer's dime. Bottom line, it's only 1% of NPR's budget is that government money. I actually went on NPR and did an interview with them and stressed that. Now, of course, they didn't play that in the interview later, but that is a reality. It was only 1% of their budget. They can make that up, or they can cut costs just like every other family in America has had to cut costs in order to operate within a budget. So this is a time that the American people are living in. They sent us here again to do government differently, and that means that we've got to take difficult steps, but important steps that have to be done.
Congressman Mark Harris, North Carolina, greatly appreciate you being here. I know you've got to get out the door and over there to cast your vote. We'll keep an eye on it, sir. Again, thank you.
Thank you, Steve.
Greatly appreciate it. There you have it. Now, coming up after the break, anti-ICE riots and protests continue to wreak havoc on American cities from Los Angeles and all the way to Chicago and more coming this weekend. I'll bring on RAP correspondent Ben Bergquam, who's standing by in Chicago next to give us an inside look. Also, don't forget to tune in to Real America's Voice this Friday, Saturday, and Sunday for Turning Point USA's Young Women's Leadership Summit. You won't want to miss that coverage. It's all happening here on RAV. We'll be right back.
we are honoring all the dads out there this Father's Day with a special called A Father's Legacy. Would you like to see your father honored on the special? Well, send us a photo and your name along with your dad's, and we will post it on our website right alongside our Father's Day special on June 15th.
Join us for A Father's Legacy, airing 6 a.m. and 8 p.m. Eastern this Sunday on Real America's Voice.
And Real America's Voice looks like a good one. Well, the anti-ICE riots have been the topic of discussion this week as far-left agitators took to the streets in several liberal U.S. cities, turning so-called protests into full-blown anti-ICE and, frankly, anti-American riots. From Los Angeles to Chicago, demonstrators have vandalized federal buildings, clashed with law enforcement, and burned American flags, all under the banner of opposing immigration enforcement and flying most often Mexican flags and sometimes Palestinian flags while telling us how terrible America is. They still want to live here. It's weird, isn't it? Backed by radical activist groups, these riots targeted immigration and customs enforcement agents who risk their lives to uphold the law and enforce the law and keep Americans like you safe. It's yet another example of the left's growing hostility toward border security and American sovereignty. And they're right. Ben Bergquam also spent some time in Indianapolis with ICE operations recently. I want to show you the people. They put a video together of what was going on there. Let's watch.
Do you know how many? This is bull. We got some stagers that came in. It was empty when I got here. Wow. Yeah. So there's some stagers that would be going to different locations through. This is kind of, we try to bring everybody here, and then if they have to go to a different detention facility, then they'll go there. Or some people will come in here to be ready for removal. We send them to, up north of Chicago for removal or over to Kansas City. So that might happen as well. But most of these are going to be arrests. They happen today.
This is pretty incredible. I wasn't expecting this many people in the 2 days.
Well, and this is really, like I said, Indianapolis is one of our busiest offices that we have. So it means that any single day like this could be what a day looks like for our office.
And is it all men, or is there a separate area for women? Or we have
It'll be a
the one
separate area.
female?
Yep. That's how.
But the majority, the vast majority are male.
I don't know what the percentage is, but historically the percentage has been much higher for males and females that we apprehend. They're all.
All right, standing by now to talk to me about this is Ben Bergquam. He has been in Los Angeles. He has been in Indianapolis. He's now in Chicago, but I want to know more about this video I just saw in Indy. Ben, nice to see you here today. We'll get to Chicago in a minute. Let's start with that video we were just seeing. What can you tell me about that? I mean, in the Midwest, right, you wouldn't think about that being a hot spot for illegals, and yet here we are.
Yeah, no, it's speaking to Sam Olson there, the director, that area, it's all of these areas, so-called flyover country, are crammed there. Every single state in this country has been invaded by illegals, and in particular, places like Indianapolis, some of these places you don't think of. What's interesting about it, though, is you compare it to places like Chicago and LA, where they're getting pushback, where they don't get any help from these sanctuary cities, where their ICE detainers aren't honored. At least there they are, and so that's why you saw that intake facility, that small intake facility is full almost every single day, and the guys you see in there today are going to be gone tomorrow. They're rotating through them. They're getting them out as fast as they can possibly get them in. You compare that to somewhere like Chicago, and that's also in the same region. It's much harder to get them because they can't go to the jails and get them. But we were out this morning. Went after 4 targets, ended up getting 7 because we ended up picking up some of the illegals that were with other illegals. And then you add those to the ones that were already in there. They're not stopping. They're not slowing down. ICE operations continue regardless of what's happening either in LA or here in Chicago. We got a few of the lame protesters directly in front of me. But the ICE operations themselves and the ICE agents, if anything, it just gives them more fuel on the fire to keep doing it.
Right. I think we do. Do we have the sizzle reel? Do we have that, guys? I think we've got something here. We can go ahead and share. Let's go ahead and watch this, Ben, because I think this is very telling as well.
Our officers are some of like the best and most highly trained that there are. We've seen just record amounts of arrests, and we expect it to continue. There's been an increase in, assaults on us. It makes it a little bit more, unsafe for everybody.
Sounds like a target vehicle might be on. It's a big day.
Let's go stage around the corner and wait for that person to come outside. Put your hands up.
Don't want to be recorded, don't commit crimes. Don't come into our country illegally. It's the entitlement. That's all.
Yeah, very different between Indianapolis to go about 2 hours north of Chicago. Of course, the governor of Illinois, J.B. Pritzker, Jumbo, he thinks that his state should be a sanctuary state, right? I mean, he's a billionaire. Maybe he could foot the bill.
Yeah, and that's actually why, we came up here to check this out, this area, because this being a sanctuary city and the depolicing, the defunding the police, the riots are anticipated to be even more violent here, possibly even than what we saw in L.A. this Saturday, all of these planned protests / riots. And it all comes back to people like Governor Pritzker, Mayor Johnson, who protect criminals rather than the citizens of their communities. And that, by the way, that video this morning you saw, that was all from this morning. The guy you see at the end is actually a DACA recipient who is also wanted for aggravated assault. When I said the arrogance, it was of that guy, the DACA, who thought he had every right to be here, came over when he was 5. He's 26 years old now, and has done nothing to fix his status, only committed additional crimes, allegedly. And now he's upset that he got picked up. All of these guys need to go. Every single one of them.
Yeah. Well, and that's where America is now, Ben. And I've been sharing the statistic that I saw on CNN, on Chicken Noodle News yesterday, because I find it remarkable. In 2020, this is what's the most telling stat that I've heard in a long time. In 2020, the Democrats had a 32-point advantage on favoritism from legal immigrants, those that have gone through the process and come here legally. Today, it's 8 points favoring the Republicans. It's a 40-point swing. Who knows more about illegal immigration and legal immigration and what's going on in these communities than those that have come here legally? It's a 40-point swing to the right in favor of Donald Trump and this administration, and that is so very telling to me, Ben. I bet it says a lot to you, too.
Yeah, well, it's no wonder. I mean, think about this. The people that left those countries, especially when they start waving that country's flag here in America, they fled that country to come for a better life in America. The last thing they want are the scumbags that were still in that country that they were fleeing from to come to America and turn America into the country that they left. That's why illegal immigrants who want to do it the right way, who actually put law and order first, like Ruben, the guy who works for L.A. County, who was out there cleaning up the graffiti that the rioters left behind. That's why they support President Trump. That's why they support removals. And it's no wonder, because they've actually had to live it.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, so Saturday. Will you be in Chicago? Where will you be Saturday? Because obviously we're all watching. We don't know where we're going to. I know I'm going to be in D.C. I'm going to watch that and see how that unfolds at the parade and see what happens with protesters, rioters there. Where are you going to be? People want to know.
I will actually be joining you. I'm going to be at the parade. I'm going to be at the festivities in Washington, D.C. But tomorrow morning, I'm going somewhere. I can't say exactly where yet. It's something we haven't done yet, and it's going to be epic. So stay tuned for that tomorrow morning. Then I'm going to be hopping on a flight, joining you guys in D.C.
There you go. Ben Berquam, always out there. Never fear. Ben is here. He's on the front lines. Never miss Law and Border here on Real America's Voice. If you want to know what's really going on, you can catch it here. Again, Saturday coverage begins at 4 o'clock. Ben will be there. I'll be there. Steve Bannon will be there. We're going to mark 250 years of the United States Army, Flag Day, and ironically, coincidentally, Donald Trump's birthday, his 79th as well. It's all happening Saturday right here on Real America's Voice. Live. At this point in the program, we were going to be going to Mexico near the Guatemala border to speak with Oscar Ramirez, Real America's Voice correspondent in that part of the world. But we're told he has been detained by Mexican federales at this point. We're not sure what the situation is, except to know that he is being searched by Mexican authorities and police at this moment, so he's not able to join us. We'll keep you updated on Oscar's situation and status when we know. Meanwhile, you probably saw this terrible story to start the day. A single passenger apparently survived a plane crash, a horrific plane crash in India today. Ahmedabad, India. More than 290 people killed. There were 242 aboard the AI-171 flight. And then it hit an apartment building that housed doctors in training. The Boeing 787 had 242 people on board when it crashed into that medical college shortly after takeoff at about 1:38 p.m., 4:08 a.m. Eastern time. The survivor, Vishwash Kumar Ramesh, was seated near an emergency exit in seat 11A. He's now in a hospital. He said it all happened so quickly that when it crashed, he looked around, there were bodies. And he fled and he ran. The next thing you know, he was grabbed and put into an ambulance. There are reports that somehow he was an emergency exit there, that somehow he opened the door, was able to jump at the moment of impact. I don't know how any of this plays out or what's true or what's not. It's rumors, but there is a single survivor of this plane crash, which is remarkable. Reuters reports over 290 dead, including all 270, except almost all, 230 passengers, 12 crew members, at least 50 on the ground. Among them, 5 medical students. At least 40 others are injured. Police still trying to figure it out, recovering 204 bodies from the site so far, a city of northwestern India. This is India's deadliest plane crash since 1996. Back then, 349 died in a mid-air collision. This is a terrible tragedy to strike that nation. The YouTuber known as the Urban Legend infiltrated the headquarters of a radical anti-capitalist group in Manchester, England, exposing Antifa. The movement, the Biden administration, and legacy media insist doesn't exist. An undercover video reveals a fully operational Antifa base, complete with stockpiles of food, clothing racks, bunk beds, and a revolutionary workshop for rioters. How comforting. They're teaching them to be rioters. The footage offers a disturbing glimpse into the inner workings of the revolutionary cult fueling unrest across the West. Graffiti promotes give trans girls guns, protect trans kids, punch Nazis, and all prisoners are political. The mostly peaceful messages incite violence, of course. Zero Hedge compared the operation to a bunch of children who failed to grow up playing fort in a condemned warehouse. The 30-minute video contained not a drop of testosterone. The film does not explain operations in the U.S., but we'll be looking into it and hopefully learning a lot more. Health Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr. has named 8 members to the CDC's vaccine advisory panel. He did that Wednesday, just days after he fired all 17 previous advisors for their ties to the pharmaceutical industry. The advisory committee on immunization practices includes doctors like Cody Meissner, Robert Malone, and Martin Kulldorff. Malone was a key figure in the mRNA research, opposed Biden's COVID policies, and supported ivermectin and hydroxychloroquine as treatments instead of those vaccines. Reuters reported Kulldorff earned $33,000 in lawsuits against Merck's Gardasil vaccine and criticized Biden's tyrannical COVID lockdowns. Reuters says CDC rules may require his recusal from Merck-related votes. An HHS spokesperson said all of Kennedy's appointees are thoroughly vetted and hold medical or doctoral degrees in fields including psychiatry, biostatistics, health analytics, biochemistry, pediatrics, emergency medicine, public health, nursing, and obstetrics. 4 openly criticized the science of Biden's vaccine mandates. And there you have it. This month, Tax Network USA proudly celebrates our nation's birthday, honoring freedom, resilience, and financial independence. To mark the occasion, they're offering 10% off all services through the 4th of July. If you're dealing with back taxes or miss the April 15th deadline, don't wait and don't worry. The IRS is stepping up enforcement, but you're going to be okay. Penalties can happen up quickly, up to 5% per month, maxing out at 25% of your tax bill just for not filing. That's on top of what you already owe. But like I said, don't panic because there is good news. Tax Network USA can still help you turn those things around. Whether you're self-employed, run a business, or your books are a complete mess, their team knows exactly how to cut through the chaos and find solutions that work. Your consultation, always free, and getting ahead of the problem now could help you avoid those harsh penalties, wage garnishments, or surprise bank levies. Take the first step, won't you? Call 800-905-8000 or visit tnusa.com/rev. And don't forget, you'll get 10% off all services through the 4th of July as part of their celebration of our nation's birthday. Regain control of your finances with expert help from Tax Network USA. Coming up after the break, the vote on the rescissions package slated to happen any minute now. Many Americans hoping the package passes to see the DOGE cuts and other areas of spending become permanent. Stay tuned to Real America's Voice this coming Monday at 8 o'clock Eastern for a major announcement from the Trump administration. Again, that's Monday, 8 Eastern, right here on Real America's Voice. We'll be back after the break. Discussing today, the House of Representatives set to vote on President Trump's rescissions package that would cut $9.4 billion of government spending. This is step one. This rescissions package is the first step to codifying the billions of dollars of government waste identified by Elon Musk's Department of Government Efficiency. Here with me to discuss more on the rescissions package is Congressman Ralph Norman of South Carolina 5. Ralph, nice to have you here again. Nice to see you.
Glad to be with you.
All right, let's talk about this. We chatted just a moment before you came on. You said you'd like to see one of these a week because it will expose the real patriots from those that are just playing make-believe at election time. I think I agree with you on that. We need to show who the real conservatives are and put a spotlight on those that are not. What do you say?
It's the most crucial vote we will take. The American people will be able to see who talks one way of conservatism and does differently. There is absolutely no excuse for any Republican to vote against this at all. And, to codify waste, fraud, and abuse to the extent that this is. And, Steve, this is just a teardrop in the ocean compared to what should be cut. We ought to have one of these a week until we really make a dent in this thing we call the financial cliff that this country's on. You're hearing talk of people don't like PBS being omitted from funding and others, but I think at the end of the day that we will all get together. No Democrat will vote for this. They, as Hakeem Jeffries says, it's assault on Big Bird, which is ridiculous. So, how can you, this first batch of rescissions are the minimum that we should be easily passing. Well, so we're getting ready to find out.
Let me ask you this, Congressman. Maybe I should ask Hakeem Jeffries this. Who is more important? Big Bird or a middle-class family trying to put food on the table? What is more important, Big Bird or a middle-class family trying to make ends meet, pay their bills, get their kids to school? Honestly, look, NPR and PBS get about 10 to 15% of all their total funding from the taxpayer. They should be out competing against every other network just like this one. We do it every day. They should be expected to do the same.
You're exactly right. I mean, your network, you go up against the best of the best, you compete. That's what we call the free enterprise system. That's what we call the very thing that makes America great. And for government to prop up a station like that obviously is woke, espouses DEI nonsense, and if any program should be cut, it's that. But we've got so many others that we can identify. And, I think the American people are wanting consequences. They've seen all the hearings beginning with Hillary and others through the political realm calling people out, but now we need to have consequences. This vote is going to have consequences for those who vote against it, in my opinion.
I agree with you on that. And let me just talk a little bit about the economy, if I may, because if you look at the numbers, inflation, the inflation's going to go through the roof. The experts warned us because of the tariffs. Well, that didn't happen. Inflation's at 2.3, 2.4%. Donald Trump's going to destroy the economy. Well, that hasn't happened, obviously, because the inflation's in good shape. Wages are up. The jobs numbers, 3 months in a row, they've outperformed the expectations, again, of the so-called experts. So when the Congressional Budget Office comes along and says, we're going to spend all this money, I'm like, that doesn't make sense. What I have seen that makes sense to me, $2.4 trillion in additional debt, but $2.5 trillion coming in from those tariffs. Those numbers sound about right to me that I just saw. What do you say?
Well, and not only that, look at the growth in the economy. In the reconciliation budget, we've got 2.6% growth. It's projected the last quarter to be 4%. And I tell you, when these tax cuts take effect, we're going to unleash the economy like we have never seen it before. And the thing about the job numbers that you cited, they're not government jobs. During the Biden administration, and frankly during the Obama administration, they'd have all these rosy job numbers. That's government employees. That's sapping from the well of funding that the American people are paying into. So it's real what's going to happen, and this president knows how to make the economy go, and he's making promises, and he is delivering on those promises.
Yeah. All right, I've got a couple minutes left here. I have to switch gears. I'd be remiss if I didn't ask you, Congressman, about what's happening in Los Angeles, and not just L.A., but we're starting to see uprisings. I saw a number of vehicles burned in New York City overnight with a Molotov cocktail thrown over the wire, burning a bunch of police cars in New York City. You see violence in the streets of L.A. Donald Trump said, we're not going to have this. We're not going to have a repeat of Minneapolis 2020. Coming on Saturday, the No Kings rallies, possibly riots, coming to the nation's capital, to all the major cities around the country. What do you think is going to happen?
I think Donald Trump has put in place what's going to happen to other cities that it expands to. He's going to put the necessary law enforcement, National Guard, Marines in place to protect American businesses and protect cities. And for Gavin Newsom to be saying what he's saying, that he's going to sue, California's going to sue the federal government, and he says this is spreading because of Donald Trump. Donald Trump is preventing buildings to be on fire. He's preventing cars from being vandalized. He's preventing police officers from health getting hurt. And so he's doing the country a disservice. I hope the people of California give him what he deserves, which is throwing him out of office, because what he's doing is hurting the whole state, and he's spreading it, really. He's siding with criminals, and that's what the Democrat mantra is now, side with criminals. And this isn't a peaceful rally. If it were, you would need all the backup support. But, what he's saying just doesn't make sense, and I think, again, the American people are getting a front row seat to it.
Absolutely. Congressman, greatly appreciate you being here. We'll keep an eye on that vote, see how it comes out here in the next little bit. Do appreciate you taking the time on a very busy day, sir. Thank you.
My pleasure. Thank you, Steve.
We have Ralph Norman from South Carolina, one of my favorites. Don't go anywhere. We'll take a break on America's Voice Live and be right back. It looks like the vote has passed, by the way, in the House. We'll keep an eye on that as far as the rescission packages go. But some sort of an outburst on the floor involving Mike Lawler of New York. This is just, it's one event after another after another. Senator Padilla taken out of a Kristi Noem event today in handcuffs, we're told. The Democrats are doing everything they can to create images of being oppressed by Donald Trump by creating disturbances, creating lawlessness, and then getting themselves into these situations. McIver, the Democratic congresswoman arrested in Maryland for her behavior in her conduct toward ICE agents. It's just all one big stunt. It's all performative to try to get clicks on social media and to get low information voters to pay attention. That's what's going on, just so we're clear. Meanwhile, ICE agents arrested over 70 illegal aliens Tuesday at Glen Valley Foods meatpacking plant, Omaha, Nebraska. The raid turned violent there, too, when a Honduran national brandished a weapon and assaulted federal agents. ICE said some detainees had active warrants, prior DUI convictions, and had been previously deported. Many are facing charges for fraud, resisting arrest, illegal re-entry. But the plant owner, Gary Rower, says his company uses E-Verify and will now operate at 30% capacity. He claimed he had no idea the workers were illegal because he uses E-Verify. AVI News reported the poultry industry heavily relies on immigrant labor, calling illegal aliens critical in processing plants and farms. Under President Trump's stricter enforcement, companies are being forced to raise wages and hire legal American workers. What a tragedy. The Pentagon, meanwhile, told lawmakers Tuesday the 60-day deployment of U.S. Marines to Los Angeles will cost about $134 million to cover travel, food, troop pay, housing from operations, and maintenance budgets. About 700 active duty Marines and 4,000 National Guard were activated under a presidential memorandum following attacks on ICE agents serving criminal warrants tied to customs fraud, tax evasion, and money laundering, too. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth said the mission is to ensure those rioters, looters, and thugs assaulting our police know we're not going anywhere. U.S. Northern Command confirmed the Marines are trained for crowd control but have no authority to arrest. Their mission is to protect federal personnel and property. We'll keep an eye on that. FBI Director Kash Patel hailed a record drug bust in Atlanta as part of Operation Take Back America, seizing enough fentanyl to kill nearly 50 million people. The joint FBI-DEA operation recovered 252 kilograms of narcotics, 33 firearms, and $145,000 in cash, valued at more than $9 million, all of it. On June 5, authorities arrested 47-year-old Bartholomew Keaton Harrelson, charging him with intent to distribute controlled substances and possession of a firearm by a convicted felon. He faces up to 40 years in prison if convicted. Raids on 3 locations uncovered fentanyl, methamphetamines, heroin, cocaine, 19 firearms, ammunition, ballistic vests, pill presses capable of producing 25,000 pills an hour, and a book titled How to Avoid Federal Drug Conspiracy and Firearms Charges. You're probably going to need that along with a really good lawyer. Patel labeled the case a terror attack. An American dies every 7 minutes from a drug overdose of these illegal drugs, and every hour 2 die of homicide. That's right. Well, since Donald Trump was sworn in, it's incredible to think of the progress his administration has already made. It is not easy to move mountains at the speed of light. However, when they're trying to right the country, they can't also take your personal finances into account. Sorry, but you have to do that. And that's why thousands of Americans are buying gold now from Birch Gold. Here are the facts. In the past 12 months, the value of gold has increased by 30%. Central banks are buying gold in record quantities, so demand doesn't seem to be subsiding. The real reset is on the horizon, where BRICS nations are looking to unseat the U.S. dollar as the global reserve currency. But you can find peace of mind in gold. Birch Gold makes it extremely easy to convert an existing IRA or 401k into a tax-sheltered IRA in physical gold, or you can even buy some to store in your home safe. Just text America to 989898. Birch Gold will send you a free information kit on gold. There's no obligation, only good information. With an A+ rating with the Better Business Bureau and tens of thousands of happy customers, take control of protecting your savings today. Text America to the number 989898. And don't forget, on Saturday, I want to remind you again, 4 to 10, right here on Real America's Voice, we'll have complete coverage of the 250th anniversary of the U.S. Army at the parade in Washington, D.C. I'll be there. Ben Bergquam will be there. The entire RAV team will be there. Make sure you put it on your calendar. We'll be right back. right. What makes America wonderful? We do it every day in the hopes of putting a smile on your face and to remind you just how great America truly is. Today's story comes to us from Chandler, Arizona, where honesty turned out to be the best policy. 13-year-old Cody Shamblers was riding his bike when he stumbled upon someone's wallet filled with credit cards, insurance cards, and, of course, $300 cash. Instead of pocketing the money and ditching the wallet, Cody kept it and took to social media and the Arizona Public Records page to make sure the wallet and all the contents within it made it back to their owner safe and sound. Eventually, Cody was able to track down the owner of the wallet, settle a meeting to give it back. Now, most would think the story would end right there, but for Cody, he was in for a bigger surprise as the owner of the wallet paid Cody's honesty forward by buying him a brand new electric bike that he'd been saving up for. Cody's mom commented on the situation by expressing how proud she was of her boy, and Cody himself hopes that the story will teach others the importance of honesty. It's always a treat for us to see our young Americans display the value of integrity, especially when most would seize the opportunity to run with the cash, but Cody's intrinsic honesty ended up benefiting him in a much bigger way and showed us what makes America wonderful. All right, we're going to take a moment here. Brian Glenn was in with the president here a short while ago talking about the auto workers and the EV mandate that he's getting rid of out of California. Brian Glenn had a question for the president. Here it is.
Brian, yeah, please.
Yes, sir. I have some very close friends who run some of the largest auto dealerships in Southern California, the Mustang Automotive Group.
Good.
Their message to you, they're 100% behind you right now. They know they're going through some soft sales period.
That's true.
In it for the long haul. What's your message to thousands of auto dealerships across this country that are kind of navigating through this tariff?
Yeah, they're going to do better than ever before. They're going to sell cars in America at levels that they've never even thought of before. And they're going to make more money than they ever made before. It's going to be great. They're going to be selling a better car, too. It's going to be a better product.
And they're behind you 100%.
I know. I know that. They have been behind me, right? They knew it was right. They've been asking for this for 25, 30 years, in all fairness. No, they're very happy. I told you the Auto Workers Union, we got tremendous votes. But they like me today even better than they did on Election Day on November 5th because they see the results now. They're all happening. And
they said thank you.
Yeah, and they have plants moving in, Brian. A lot of plants are moving in. Thank you very much for that question.
We'll have more on that, of course, throughout the day here. Real America's Voice Chief White House Correspondent Brian Glenn there talking about EVs and the change in the policy at the White House. Here's your question of the day here on America's Voice Live. What are your thoughts on President Trump's bill killing California's electric vehicle mandate? Just what Brian was talking about there. Getting rid of the Green New Deal step by step. And Terry and Darlene Godby, promise made, promise kept. Best president in my lifetime. Catherine Blackhawk writes, it's wonderful, but I'm sure that very soon an Omaha judge will try to stop it. One would wonder. Sam Folds III, the climate change hoax, there's no reason to kneecap the global economy. Hopefully more countries will follow suit in using common sense when dealing with green energy. Brian Sharkey has this. California's grid has trouble now. In the summer, all EVs in the state would destroy their already weak grid. I agree with that. Carol Rademacher, it's about time. It is about time, Carol. George Maxim, California can't even keep their power flowing 24 hours a day. Now imagine power goes down and your battery vehicle needs to be charged. Yeah, now you're in real trouble. Bob Burns, excellent actions by Trump in killing these scams which negatively affect Americans in so many ways. And Debbie Caesar, hell yeah. Tired of being held hostage by California and all the liberal nitwit rules. Agreed. Well, greatly appreciate you being here today. Tomorrow, I'll be back in Washington, D.C., because coming up Saturday, exclusive coverage on Real America's Voice of the Great Parade, celebrating 250 years of the United States Army. You want to join us for coverage beginning at 4 o'clock Saturday afternoon, all the way through 10 o'clock, and the fireworks. There it is. Mark it down in your calendar, and I'll see you tomorrow in the nation's capital.
tried to shut them up.
There's no guarantee to free speech.
They tried to cancel them.
Deplatforming works.
They even threw them in jail.
Peter Navarro,
Steve Bannon,
now in prison.
But they couldn't stop them.
It's not a prison bill that will ever shut me up.
They call them rebels.
Basket of deplorables.
They call them rogues.
They claim to guns or religion.
And they say they're outlaws.
These are the kind of guys you like to smack in the ass.
War Room presents Rebels, Rogues, and Outlaws.
You set out to take Vienna. Take Vienna!
The national bestseller by longtime Bannon producer Dan Fluette. Take a journey through the pictorial history of War Room in a culture that celebrates the weak. Show your support by standing with the rebels. Go to doitfluette.com or scan the QR code on your screen. Use the code RAV20 for 20% off your order. Stand with the rebels and never back down.
All righty, ding away. Boom. Oh, he's not using the bell. He's not dinging. Come on, you got to hit that thing. I get the gavel. I guess so. All right, whatever. CAH listen. New York Stock Exchange is closed. We are open for business. Take a look at the numbers. Dow up, nice little move up. Again, very, very quiet last couple of days. I think everyone's waiting to see what happens with those China deals. And as Trump pointed out a little bit earlier today from the Oval Office, that Japan is also looking to fix the deal, maybe even Taiwan. Dow up a little bit, NASDAQ up a little bit. Here's the good news. Look at that gold number. $3,408, folks. How long have we been talking about this? It's approaching yet another new high. Just gold is just resilient, and you like to see oil only down a couple of pennies. I will tell you, crypto backed off a little bit. Crypto is 107,000, just a touch, a little bit lower, but again, hangs in there. So you want gold up, you like crypto. I love the crypto. The Bitcoin price is just an amazing. It's so resilient. I'll give you the crypto numbers as we speak. Bitcoin 106,800, so it's right at 107,000. Ethereum, a lot of folks have Ethereum 2696, just down a touch as well. Solana, Dogecoin, XRP, all backed off just a tiny bit. Okay, had a great interview just moments ago with our Secretary of Agriculture, Brooke Rollins. And again, we had to do it a little bit early because she's got a very busy schedule, but we'll bring it to you. Here you go. All right, folks, all the buzz in Capitol Hill right now remains on President Trump's one big, beautiful bill. Senate Republicans, well, they've been meeting to iron out the key differences on spending cuts and other sticking points. President Trump continues to urge unity behind the big, beautiful bill. Trump posted on Truth Social, quote, "The big, great, big, beautiful bill will grow the economy like it has never grown before. At the same time, it is cutting expenses by $1.6 trillion. It puts our country on the right track. Plus, make America great again." Here now to assess is my first guest, the U.S. Secretary of Agriculture, Brooke Rollins. Madam Secretary, so thrilled to have you here. You just what a beautiful sight that is with the White House behind you. You look terrific. Madam Secretary, you made some great points that this bill, yes, taxes and whatnot, but our farmers will be especially affected by, in a positive way, when this bill makes it through. Tell us about it.
Well, first of all, thank you so much for having me on. And there is no more important topic in Washington today than the great, big, I think we just added great in the last True Social, but in the big, beautiful bill that is the priority of this president. It effectuates his vision of making America great again. We talked about bringing the deficit down. We talked about cutting taxes for all Americans, the new account for every baby born. But for our farmers and our ranchers, it is a massive, massive deal. It protects 2 million family farms from the death tax. It increases farm income by $3.8 billion. It cuts taxes by $10 billion, again, just for our farmers and our ranchers. So this president understands that our ag community is the backbone of America, and they lived under some really dark times in the last administration, but times are changing, and this bill must pass to continue that momentum.
There's a really, really important point you make there. So the death tax, we're talking about the estate tax, and this bill helps the farmers out, because what folks may not understand is that most of the assets in a farm
stays in the farm. They do make a living off the farm, but if someone dies and wants to pass it along to an heir and have to come up with this massive 50, sometimes up to 50% tax, well, they can't. They'd have to sell the farm, and that puts our food security at risk. So expand on that. I think people really need to understand how important that little ditty in the bill is.
Well, I think to your point, it couldn't be more important. And in my 118 days so far, I think I've been in 17 states, 2 foreign countries. But in my travels all around America, I have been meeting with probably almost 1,000 farmers and ranchers at this point, listening to them. And the number one most consistent issue is how they can continue to pass their farm, their agriculture way of life to the next generation. Many are 3rd, 4th, 5th, and 6th generation. And the number one impediment to that is the inheritance, or as we call it, the death tax. This president understands that. He understands that rural America, that the ag communities, that farmers and ranchers, if we have any disruption in that continual pass down and the opening up the markets for new farmers, that America will be no more. And the side note on that, which I think you and I have talked about before, is just in the last few years, China has purchased 400,000 acres of our farmland across this country. Think about that. China now owns 400,000 acres of what used to be owned by our American farmers and ranchers. That is a national security threat, and they are just looking for more opportunity. So it is about protecting our farmers and ranchers. It's also about protecting the American way of life from adversaries that don't have the same values that we have.
We are so fortunate to have what we do have. We have 2 of our coasts, our water, that's fantastic, but we have such fertile land in America, and that's why our food prices are so reasonable. In fact, we're a net exporter of food. Thank God for that. We need to protect that. Those are great portions. You said 118 days. I want to give you a chance to take a victory lap here, because the left keeps talking about, oh, prices are up. I'm going to call BS on that, Madam Secretary, because yesterday the numbers came out and food inflation was 2.9%. Average for the year for 2025 is 2.7%. You guys have been around 118 days. Let the folks understand this. In 2023, it was 5.8%, double what it is right now. In 2022, it was 9.9% for the year, triple what it is right now. So what are you guys doing that's bringing the prices of our food down for the American, for Main Street America?
For everyday Americans who are just trying to raise their family and make a good living. Listen, this president's vision, his policy works. We saw it in the first term. I was here in the West Wing with him in term 1, running a lot of the policy lanes. Now as the Secretary of Agriculture, it isn't complicated, but it takes courage, it takes fearlessness, and it takes a relentless devotion to ensuring that freedom and liberty reign and govern the day. And what that means is less government, lower taxes, an effort to reshore all that we have lost, and especially under Joe Biden, but in the last many decades, bringing more jobs back to America. It means lowering the cost of our inputs, unleashing energy dominance. And when you have all of that as part of your policy package, the people that thrive the most are not in Washington, D.C., they're not in the government, but they are out in everyday Main Street America and in our communities. And that's what we're seeing. This president promised to secure the border. He promised to bring the price of groceries down. He promised to increase jobs. He promised to bring jobs back to America. And that is, in just such a short time, exactly what we're seeing. And I just couldn't be more thrilled and more grateful and more appreciative to be a part of this monumental, save the country, historical effort that President Trump is leading.
Secretary Rollins, how secure is our food supply, first of all? And frankly, how secure is our water supply as well?
Well, every day we have to never take our eye off the ball. In about a week, I'm going to be releasing a new agenda that's going to be focused on national security. I think that for a very, very long time, our agriculture community in and of itself deserves the utmost support, respect, elevation, amplification, whatever we can do to ensure that way of life is preserved. But now we're becoming more and more aware as a society that without food security, to your point, water security, security, et cetera, the safety, that we can't be a superpower for the world, the superpower, more than any country in the history of the world has ever been. So this remains of paramount importance. The cabinet is focused on it. The president innately understands it, and he's doing everything we can, and we will continue to secure future prosperity, freedom, and liberty. But that safety, that security is the foundation of all of it from my perspective.
And very quickly, the left wants to talk about egg prices. Let's talk a little egg prices, shall we? I mean, look, they brought it up. They complained about it on Easter week. You guys have a 5-month low in egg prices. That goes back to before you were around. And I look back. Yeah. I look back over the last few years. Egg prices have literally been cut in half since the middle of 2023.
Yeah. Listen, under Joe Biden, the egg prices went up 237%. The president has been very consistent in his message that when he got here on day one, pretty much the most and the biggest question was the price of eggs. What in the world? Like trying to blame President Trump, even though he'd only been here for one day. One of the very first conversations we had when I was voted on and confirmed, again, about 119 days ago, was, Brooke, we got to figure out how to bring the cost of eggs down. We released a 5-point plan back in February. Pretty complicated, so I won't get into it now, but the market has reacted. We have done everything we said we would do in a significant way, and as a result of that, the wholesale price of eggs are down 65% since we released that plan, but more than half than what we were at during Joe Biden, towards the end of Joe Biden, and the prices keep dropping. So we're really glad about that.
And what folks need to understand, it's not eggs. It's not eggs. Everyone's just using eggs as a metaphor for food prices. And by the way, all your prices are coming down, and they're easing and taking a little bit of pressure off the middle-class American pocketbook. It's fantastic. Again, Secretary Rollinson's from the great state of Texas. Don't mess with Texas. Right. Don't mess with Texas. Before, I know we got to. I know you got to go. I know you're being pulled. But very quickly, roll that quick soundbite from last night, the congressional baseball game. Listen carefully to the crowd chanting, "Brooke, Brooke, Brooke." Listen. You gotta love that, Secretary. Your name being chanted. By the way, who won that game?
Well, the Republicans won that game, of course, and obviously they would have won no matter what. But I think having Tom the Clydesdale and perhaps maybe a little bit me walking in with the game ball may have had just a little bit to do with it. But it was an awesome night and just really, really special. Thank you for bringing that up. That was awesome.
Secretary, we love having you. Appreciate your time and appreciate what you're doing for the country. Thank you, Secretary Brooke Rollins. Thank you.
It's a joy. Thank you so much.
All right, folks, before I head to break, just want to remind you about my podcast and YouTube page, updated daily. You can watch that interview, watch the whole show anytime you want, other content as well. Spotify, YouTube, Apple, just subscribe on one of those. Any one of them, it's always free. Just got to hit subscribe on one of those. We'll be back in 2.5 minutes. There you go, Santa Monica, pretty cool place. You know, honestly, Ben, you hear me? Do we like Gentle Ben or Ben, the other Ben, the rat? No, we like Gentle.
I think Gentle Ben. I think Rat Ben is a bit abrasive, yes. I'd say.
Yes. Benny and the Jets. Ben, right next to Santa Monica, there's a place called Manhattan Beach, California. I lived there for a little while. It's one of the most beautiful places in the world, even though it's California. I digress. All right, folks, we here at Real America's Voice always try to bring you the most up-to-date information on the ground on the big stories impacting our lives. RAV correspondent Ben Bergquam has been consistently and constantly on the move with ICE, and he's bringing us major developments in their deportation efforts. Here's a little preview of what you can expect. Watch this.
Our officers are some of the best and most highly trained that there are. We've seen just record amounts of arrests, and we expect it to continue. There's been an increase in, assaults on us. It makes it a little bit more, unsafe for everybody.
Sounds like the target vehicle might be on. It'll be a big day.
Let's go stage around the corner and wait for that person to come outside.
Put your hands up.
You don't want to be recorded. Don't commit crimes. Don't come into our country illegally. It's the entitlement. That's all.
All right, well, let's bring in RAV correspondent and host of Law and Border, Ben Bergquam. Hey, Ben, so you're now in Chicago. As we know, is this part of this new spreading protest from LA? Yesterday in LA, today Chicago. Tell us what's going on behind you.
We love you, we bless you, and we thank you for your grace.
Well, the PUSH coalition, Jesse Jackson's coalition, is actually praying right now. They're out here protesting President Trump and ICE.
As we're on this battlefield, God, we pray now that you will let us know and remind this world that our weapons are not carnal, but they are spiritual, and they are made for the pulling down of strongholds.
Jobs for the black community. But now they're out here standing for illegal aliens who take away jobs from the black community. But hold on that. Hold that thought in your mind for a second. That footage you just showed was Indianapolis this morning. We rode with them. And I just want to tell the audience, ICE is not slowing down. ICE is not backing down. They are not discouraged. If anything, the attacks against them are making their resolve even stronger. And what you saw this morning, wait till you see all of it. These guys are going after it. And when you look at the guys that ICE is picking up, and you think about who the Democrats are trying to protect, it's outrageous. Absolutely outrageous.
It really is. It's almost like they hate Trump so much, they're taking the other side of an issue that should be 80-20 at least, if not 90-10 or 100, really should be 100%. Let's get the illegals out of here, especially the criminal illegals. But they want to defend it because they just want to. If Trump said air is amazing and beautiful and golden, they say air sucks, you're wrong, everyone should boycott air. This is what they are. New York Congressman Dan Goldman compared ICE agents, get this, to secret police. Listen.
I will be introducing a bill that will prevent Homeland Security officers from hiding or concealing their identities and wearing masks, because we don't live in a country, an authoritarian country, where we have secret police who are masked, who are intimidating, who are scaring people. That's the stuff of authoritarian states. That is not the stuff of that's not how the United States operate.
So, Ben, I've been on a couple ICE raids as you have been on hundreds, whatever. And I will tell you, it's just like the CIA and the FBI. When they're on a mission overseas, their lives and their families' lives are at risk if their identity is exposed. So they hide it. And just like this, Tren de la Agua told our ICE agents that they have facial recognition, where all you have to do is snap a picture on an iPhone, and you can tell everything about that person, including where their family lives. What do you want to say to dumbass Dan Goldman?
Well, I was going to start with that, but you took it out of my mouth. This is the lunacy of this, Eric. They don't want them to wear masks, the guys that are protecting and serving and defending our sovereignty of our country and defending your communities. But they're just fine with Antifa and all of these scumbags that are out there burning down our country wearing masks. If any law should be passed, it should be you can't protest in America with a mask. Because we know the people that are wearing masks are the ones that are going to commit the crimes. And the guys on ICE that are covering their face, it's simply to protect themselves and their family from the evil, violent attacks that are coming from that guy and the other leftists that don't care about law enforcement, they don't care about the rule of law, they don't care about our country.
Yeah. So this is kind of interesting. Authorities have made their first detentions in the new border military zone. This is very interesting. The zone is roughly 260 miles of border in the New Mexico and Texas area. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth recently made them extensions of Army bases, and that allows them to detain illegal aliens and civilian trespassers. What do you make of these new military zones? Will they be helpful?
Yeah, no, absolutely. Using that Roosevelt strip, it's a 60-foot strip along the border that is controlled by the federal government. Look, this just shows how ingenious President Trump and his team are, that they would find a solution like this to be able to take that little strip of land and say, we're turning that into a military base. And it undoes the rules of engagement for our Army and our military that wouldn't let them do civilian-level tasks in that sector, but now because it's a military base, they can deport people immediately. It is absolutely ingenious.
Yeah. It's great. You know, they don't have to put the military on the border. They can just extend the military bases to the border. It's brilliant. It's the thinking, man. They are just thinking. Ben, do me a favor, brother. You stay safe. We are so fortunate to have you willing to travel around the country and put yourself in harm's way so the folks see what's really going on. Thank you, and thank your family from us.
Thank you, Eric. Stay tuned to tomorrow morning. It's going to be epic. I can't say where I'm going or what I'm doing. I'm just telling you it's going to be epic.
This is called the deep tease. You're deep teasing us here. Going to be epic tomorrow. All right, we will do that. Ben Burkhardt. We'll be with you again, Ben. Stay safe. All right, folks. Since Trump was sworn in, it's incredible to think of the progress his administration has already made. It's not easy to move mountains at the speed of light. This administration is trying to right the ship, to right the country, but they can't take your personal finances into account. They got a country to run. You yourself have to do that. And that's why thousands of Americans are buying gold from Birch Gold now. Here are the facts. In the past 12 months, the value of gold has increased by 30%. In fact, it's making new highs as we speak. $3,408 today, guys, up $60 more. Incredible. Central banks are buying gold in record quantities, so demand doesn't seem to be subsiding at all. That Rio reset we've been talking about on the horizon, where BRICS nations are looking to unseat the U.S. dollar as the global currency, the reserve currency. But you can find peace in gold, peace of mind in gold. Birch Gold makes it extremely easy to convert an existing IRA of whatever it is, stocks, bonds, whatever you have, turn it into a gold IRA or a 401k, into a tax-sheltered IRA in physical gold. Well, you can even buy some gold and store it in your home safe. I do that. It's exactly what I do. Just text the word America to 989898, and Birch Gold will send you a free info kit on gold. No obligation at all, only useful information. With an A+ rating with the Better Business Bureau and tens of thousands of happy customers, take control of protecting your savings today. Text the word America to 989898. All righty, we'll be back 2.5 minutes. you go, Ben. Look, no snow in Nashville, Ben.
Yeah, it's looking like clear skies today.
That's Broadway, by the way. Great street. We always talk about that. Wonderful place to go. If you've never been to Nash Vegas, you should check it out sometime. Just a fun town. All right. Once upon a time, Democrats were on board with keeping illegal immigration invaders under control. No, really. I know it's hard to believe that a Democrat containing an iota of rational common sense, well, it actually did exist at one point.
I think we should have strong border security. It doesn't make sense for us to allow hundreds of thousands of people coming through our borders without us knowing who they are. Oftentimes in very hazardous situations and unmonitored situations that could do us long-term damage.
How racist of him to say that, right? But now that kind of thinking is some sort of a travesty. And why? Well, Trump derangement syndrome certainly clouds all common sense and love for this country. But also, as always, with a dirty, swampy Democrat culture, you got to follow the money. So let's dive in. Let's just do some of that. Let's do some of the math, in fact, here. I love numbers. I'm a numbers guy. So let's just take a look at some of the deportation numbers of the past few presidents, shall we? President Trump's first term, 1.5 million deportations. Oh, President Obama, 5.2 million. Bush, 10.3 million. Clinton, 12.12 million deportations. Why weren't they protesting Bill Clinton? Trump may never break Obama's deportation record, but it's an excellent goal. And Michelle keeps, seem to be forgetting just how good Obama's record really was.
I worry for people of color all over this country. And I don't know that we will have the advocates to protect everybody. And that frightens me. It keeps me up at night.
That's what keeps you up at night, Michelle? Interesting. It's crazy that she sits in that chair and forgets 8 years of her own husband's policy. How was her sleep then when Barack Obama deported more than 5 million folks?
Even as we are a nation of immigrants, we're also a nation of laws. Undocumented workers broke our immigration laws, and I believe that they must be held accountable, especially those who may be dangerous.
Oh, my God, Obama, what a fascist. We should protest in L.A. Oh, wait, he's not president anymore. By the way, it also didn't seem to bother anyone when Obama deployed the National Guard to defend the southern border. Oh, geez, do we have an internet around here? Oh, yeah, way back in 2010.
President Obama is sending 1,200 National Guard troops to boost security along the U.S.-Mexican border. CBS News Chief White House correspondent Chip Reed has the details. Good morning, Chip.
Well, good morning, Betty. In addition to the troops, the president is also requesting $500 million for border security. But some border state politicians are already saying more help is needed.
Obama, what a fascist. Business as usual, huh? Well, here's Bill Clinton.
In every place in this country are rightly disturbed by the large numbers of illegal aliens entering our country. The jobs they hold might otherwise be held by citizens or legal immigrants. The public service they use impose burdens on our taxpayers. That's why our administration has moved aggressively to secure our borders more by hiring a record number of new border guards, by deporting twice as many criminal aliens as ever before.
Ben, did he say illegal aliens? Ben, did he say illegal? I think he did, didn't he?
He may have said illegal aliens.
I think he said illegal aliens. How racist, Bill, and how even tyrannical of you to deport all these 12.2 million people. Except it's not. Dare I say, it's actually not racist. It's presidential. So why does it matter so much when President Trump does it? No issue with Barack Obama carrying out any of these things. So why is it now suddenly deemed tyrannical? Now they're surprised. They're disgusted. It takes a former Democrat governor of California to point out what's painfully obvious.
People just get excited and they get so much anger because it's Donald J. Trump. Donald J. Trump in his first term deported 1.5 million people. So far, he has deported 160,000 people since he became president again. Barack Obama deported 5.3 million people.
Yeah, I mean, I totally take your point.
But it's because Donald J. Trump. If it was Barack Obama, it's okay.
No, Abby Phillips, let the former lieutenant governor say exactly what you know is true. It's terrible when Trump deports a million, but it's quite okay if Barack Obama deports 5 million and Bill Clinton 12.2 million. But it doesn't matter. Very different party now. To be clear, they've always been self-righteous, socialist, loving, leaning cowards. And also, to be fair, they were met with most centrist people who were willing to reach across the aisle and abandon their own party. But that was way back in 2015. Even the most socialist of the old Democrat guard, Bernie Sanders, painstakingly explained how immigration, how we're taking low-skilled and undocumented, illegals, how them coming to America, this country, negatively affects American jobs. And remember, 2015, 10 years ago, Bernie Sanders said this.
When you have 36% of Hispanic kids in this country who can't find jobs, and you bring a lot of unskilled workers into this country, what do you think happens to that 36% of kids who are today unemployed? 51% of African-American kids.
Where's the outcry? Where's the looting? Why aren't they breaking into Apple stores? Also, Bernie Sanders, 2015, immigration makes America what? What we've been saying.
Open borders. That's a Koch brothers proposal. The idea, of course, that's a right-wing proposal which says essentially there is no United States.
But it would make a lot of global poor richer, wouldn't it?
And it'd make everybody in America poor. Then you're doing away with the concept of a nation state.
Millionaires and billionaires. So Joe Biden, the man who let 12 million illegals in, the man who oversaw the full-scale invasion of our country through the southern border back in 2007, Biden was asked if he were president, would he allow sanctuary cities to even exist?
Would you allow these cities to ignore the federal law regarding the reporting of illegal immigrants and, in fact, provide sanctuary to these immigrants?
This administration has been fundamentally derelict in not funding any of the requirements that are needed even to enforce the existing law.
So, Senator Biden, yes or no, would you allow the cities to ignore the federal law?
No.
Okay.
What happened to these people, to this party? Why the change? Why has the leftist machine become so viscerally against both stopping illegal immigration or deporting those who are here illegally, in the country illegally? Well, first, they need the votes. They realize they're losing their base. They need the votes. It's tit for tat, really. Come and stay. We'll help you. And then, of course, we got your vote. Right? Second, we all know that if President Trump does something, even if it was done by presidents before him, even if Barack Obama did it 4 times as much and Bill Clinton did it 10 times as much, the very same thing, well, they're just against it. It's just fine if Barry does it, but if the Don does it, it's an act of a dictator, and he must be taken down. But here's what all of this, it all falls under one thing. The larger, wider, more important umbrella covering it all, the red thread, so to speak. Let's call it the green thread money. We're always saying it here. It's not the people you see, it's the people you don't see. Follow the money, the mayhem you see, the chaos. That's distraction. That's fodder for all of us. The images, the fires, the smoke, the clashes with the police. But what if you tear the country apart? That's what they really want to do. People want peace, you see. So make the riots bigger, all-encompassing. Finance them. Send in gas masks. Finance George Soros's groups. These dark money groups can fund these people. Hire them for a lot of money, $30 an hour sometimes. They have no skin in that game other than they're employees, they're actors. These riots, these protests throughout the country, make no mistake about it, they're paid for and brought to you by the most dangerous, corrupt leftist organizations on the planet. Follow the money, the Trump hatred, building up a new voter base to replace the old one, ripping apart America by the seams. They're all part of a singular agenda created by the types of people who stand to benefit from those things the most. And every minion who helps the cause fills their coffers to do so, but they're just the willing puppets. Useful idiots, if you will. Barack, Nancy, Chuck, Hakeem, Joe, Bernie. Just soldiers, well-paid soldiers, mind you, but soldiers. Think of it like this. It's a mafia organization. The image you see, the faces, they're not the ones you're after or should be after. Kamala Harris, that major bullet we dodged as a country, has always been about carrying out the globalist replacement program. Well, here she is way back, 5, 6 years ago, 7 years ago, as California Attorney General after her state was sued by the Trump administration for refusing to enforce immigration laws.
I think that these folks are really mired in rolling back the clock in time, and that's not going to happen. California represents the future, and they don't like it, but there you go.
You think it's just some coincidence that Joe Biden appointed Kamala Harris as a so-called border czar? California represents the future. It sure does. It sure did. It represents the future they want. Democrats don't perceive us or receive us as understanding the whole thing. We just want to remove illegal invaders from the country. They view us as eliminating their census figures and their congressional seats because we're removing their future votes. These people are willing to let their cities burn to protect people who are in the country illegally. It's not just that Democrats are bad people, evil people. Follow the money. The upcoming anti-Trump No Kings protests, the ones set to counter President Trump's June 14th festivities, those protests are organized by a group called Indivisible, a communist group. And who has donated millions to this organization? Do I even have to say his name? George Soros. It's right there on paper, folks. You know who else has been the happy beneficiary of Soros bucks? Global Soldier California Governor Gavin Newsom. Follow the money. As you know, President Trump was, is, and will continue to be the biggest thorn in their side. That's what funded the lawfare against him. That's what funds the judges who stand in the way of Trump's immigration policies. President Trump doesn't need the likes of Soros to fill his coffers, which makes him even more dangerous to the left. They weren't protests. There weren't any protests when Obama deported 5 million. Why? Because follow the money. Just follow the money. Everything we see all over the country, the media, the cover-up, the lawfare. Follow the money. We'll be back 2.5 minutes. There you go. Edmond, Ben. I know. Where the heck is Edmond, Oklahoma? Nice job. Nice find.
I could not tell you, but it looks pretty cozy.
It looks cozy. All right, folks. Tax Tax day's passed, clearly, but many Americans have missed the April 15th deadline. The spokesperson for Tax Network USA joins us to talk about options. Welcome, Cameron Kinsey. Cameron, really good to get you back to Tax Network USA. How do you guys help with tax resolution issues? And now that April 15th is gone, people still have a chance to make things right, do they?
Yes, absolutely. And thanks for having me on, Eric. It's good to see you. But it's true. The IRS has unlimited resources, and they're more focused on collecting than being fair to most Americans. And a lot of people don't really know their rights. They don't know how to push back. And that's really where Tax Network USA steps in. We push back against the unfair enforcement that we've seen for the past 4 years under the Biden-Harris administration. We push back against the IRS. We have a team of CPAs, licensed attorneys, people who really just know the tax code inside and out. So we negotiate directly with the IRS, so you don't have to call them. You don't have to be in communication with them. If you've received those threatening letters in the mail, like a lot of our clients have received past the tax deadline, there is still hope for you, but just make sure that you act on it fast.
You know, Cameron, I remember I once, I was a young guy, did a real estate deal. I didn't realize it was an offshore real estate deal. I didn't know I had to pay taxes on it. I missed it. They found it, the IRS found it, and the penalty was more than I made on the real estate deal. Now, can Tax Network USA negotiate some of these insane penalties that they want to slap you with?
Oh, of course. So we help with everything. There isn't a case that we haven't handled for people. We've helped with audits. We've helped with appeals. We get people on flexible and negotiable payment plans that are catered to your needs and your yearly income. But for each individual process, let's just say the audit process, we take over that completely. We review every filing, every form, every claim. If the IRS has made a mistake, which they often do, we challenge that head on. We also challenge the penalties, making sure that you're not being unfairly targeted by the IRS. We file appeals when necessary to protect our clients from these unjust penalties. So most people just don't know how to do that on their own, and that's really why it's important to have a professional service like Tax Network USA.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but let's just say the IRS says, oh, you screwed up and you owe $30,000. You guys can go in there and negotiate that down sometimes, right?
Yes, absolutely. And it really just depends on the complexity of your case. Most clients that we talk with, they get immediate protection once they decide that they want to move forward with us. The initial call with us is actually free. You get a free consultation. And for the month of June, we're offering 10% off on all of our services. But we can actually get the IRS from stopping calling you, garnishing, seizing assets. Final resolutions like settlements or lien releases can really just take up to several months, like I said, depending on your case. But from the first call, we're putting the pressure on them, not the other way around. You should stop receiving those letters and stop the pressure on that. But if you do decide to move forward with us, again, we handle all the communication, but it's better to act fast so those penalties don't keep stacking up.
And one more question, with this back and forth, this big, beautiful bill, the tax code could change, and that could be, hopefully it doesn't too much, but we can use Tax Network USA's help defining what the new tax bill and what the new tax regulations will be for us going forward.
Yes, absolutely. And we're all on the same side here. We're big supporters of President Trump and his agenda. And just, on the political side of things, we should have people codifying Trump's agenda. This would be remarkable for taxpayers in America. And, if it doesn't happen, Americans are looking at a massive tax hike, period. So this isn't just about policy. It's protecting the working families in this country from the very inflation and government overreach that Democrats created. All right.
Cameron Kinsey, really good having you on. Tax Network USA. Folks, they'll help you out. You got problems. Thank you, Cameron.
Thank you so much, Eric.
Good to see you. All right, folks, you know what? Today, a trio of, I would call them some of the worst governors in America. Governors with sanctuary cities as in their states sat in the hot seat. Tim Walz, Minnesota, Kathy Hochul, New York, and J.B. Pritzker, Illinois, the who's who of the country's worst leaders of all time, all sat in front of the House Oversight Committee for a grilling. It took just minutes into it for the left's favorite N-word to be thrown into the mix.
I'm proud of my Democratic colleagues who are willing to stand up to this thuggery. Trump is a wannabe gangster, and he's showing the world what he's about. And I'm proud. My dad served in Second World War. He fought the Nazis in Northern Africa. He fought the Nazis on the Italian Peninsula. And I think he's looking down right now and he's happy that I'm fighting today's Nazis.
They're really not Nazis. You're still doing this. You're still Trump's a Nazi and MAGA's Nazi soldiers. Unbelievable. Ridiculous. Well, what do you know? The Seattle Police Department refusing to cooperate with ICE. I think that's called, I don't know how you say, treason.
Let me be clear. The Seattle Police Department does not engage in immigration enforcement activities. We do not inquire into or collect information about an individual's immigration or citizenship status unless it is directly connected to a state or local criminal investigation.
You want to hold back? Just wait till your city and your states need some federal help. Just wait, just wait, just wait. To a Democrat who's messing everything up with their policies, it's never their own fault. Never mind that Los Angeles has basically begged criminals to steal thanks to their lax theft policies. LA Mayor Karen Bass says the looting of a Nike store and an Apple store are what Trump's fault. Watch.
That is the cause of the problems that have happened in the city of Los Angeles and other cities. This was provoked by the White House. The reason why, we don't know.
So the city that burns time and time again, it's Trump's fault. Wow. Things got a little awkward at a House Ways and Means Committee hearing yesterday when California Congresswoman Linda Sanchez proved to be one of the few Democrats who actually knows what a woman is.
In fact, we've already seen that prices are rising on many everyday goods.
Congresswoman,
please don't interrupt me. The time is mine. The time is mine. Please don't interrupt me. I will ask you questions and I will grant you an opportunity to answer them, but please don't interrupt me during my time.
With pleasure.
Okay, I know I'm a woman, but please try to limit yourself to answering my questions. No, I'm sorry, but we get talked over all the time, and I don't want that to happen at this hearing.
So Congresswoman Linda Sanchez lies and said prices are going up. They're not. Yesterday and today, we saw two different price indicators, inflation indicators coming down, lower than expected, way lower than under the Biden era. So she throws it out there, and the Trump administration representative there, I think it was Besant, says, hold on. And she stops him in his tracks and then says, so he blames the woman card. She plays the female, the gender card again. These liberals, they have absolutely no sanity left at all. You're going to lie? You should let someone call you out on it, especially when he's supposed to be the expert guest witness. MSDNC's Nicole Wallace, well, she's never been shy about expressing her Trump derangement syndrome. Mind you, this woman used to work for George Bush. She was a Bushy. Now some sort of liberal progressive on MSNBC. Well, she took some of those symptoms over to Stephen Colbert's show, always happy to roll out the blue carpet for these leftist machine bots.
It feels different. It feels different to, can we swear here?
Sure.
Around with the military. It feels really different. And he wanted to the first time, but people like Mark Milley and people stopped him. And it feels really different to use the military as pawns out loud and as a public tactic. That feels different to me.
My dear Nicole, lay off the Ozempic, my dear. Oh, well, and here's from Nicole Wallace also having an absolute and total meltdown over posters asking Americans to assist ICE with deportations.
Your taxes are paying for this ad being disseminated on Elon Musk's platform X that says, quote, help your country and yourself, report all foreign invaders. General, did Vladimir Putin write that?
He might very well have. I'll tell you one foreign invader we could deal with is Elon Musk.
All right, we got time for two more, Ben. Two more quick ones. Ready?
Copy.
All right, race-baiting Chicago Mayor, let's go, Brandon Johnson wants everyone to know why his approval rating is cratering. Pathetic 12% approval rating for this guy. It's not just the crime he lets happen in Chicago, the protests he allows to block highways, or his racist governing policy. It's also because he says crap like this.
They are absolutely terrified. And look, I remember a few stand-ups ago when I talked about what terrorism looks like. This is it. There should be no question to what our country will look like had the Confederacy won. We're seeing it on full display.
Chicago Mayor Brandon Johnson, 12% approval rating. Who'd have thunk? This idiot, Eric Swalwell, has been on a mission to embarrass himself, doing interviews with anyone who will listen and making countless cringy videos. Come to think of it, seems like maybe someone is trying to give Gavin Newsom a run for his Soros money. Here he is defending his fellow comrade who broke the law.
Hey, Congressman, what's going on? What is up with Rep. McIver being indicted?
You know what, that's some She was at an ICE facility, which is her right as a member of Congress. It's in the law that she can inspect an ICE facility. And what they do, this is what Donald Trump wanted. They drew the foul, they escalated the situation, and you know what? Here's my prediction. She is going to either have the case dismissed or be acquitted, but this tracks with a president who goes after his political enemies.
I don't know. Maybe she'll get censored. Who knows, Eric Swalwell? Where's Fang Fang, the Chinese spy that you slept with? More Bolling, 2.5 minutes away. All right, Ben, I know this is Pierce, right? This is our producer. We have a control room cam? Yeah, that's still. You have the big one from the back? There it is. Well, there's Ben right there up front. There's well, I can see that. There's MD and the guys. Pierce, where's your hand? Raise your hand. There he is. Detroit City. All right, folks. I wanted to remind you about my podcast and YouTube page, updated daily. You can hear the show anytime. Just go and just subscribe. Just hit one of those places right there, subscribe. It's always going to be free. Okay, this happened today. This was amazing. DHS Secretary Noem was doing a press conference. And, well, let's roll the first soundbite. This is, by the way, before you roll it very quickly, this is California State Senator Alex Padilla getting removed. Watch.
I'm Senator Alex Padilla. I have questions for the Secretary because the fact of the matter is half of dozen violent criminals that you're rotating on your.
I also want to
heads off.
How many of our ICE agents have been doxxed for doing their duty, how they have been targeted.
Well, how about that? How about that? Wait, did I misspeak? I said California State U.S. Senator Alex Padilla. But guess what happened? Moments after that, you want to mess with Kristi Noem? You want to mess with Tom Homan? You want to play games, Senator Padilla? This happens.
Hands behind your back. Hands behind your back.
If you don't my hands, go ahead. Stand behind my back.
All right. Cool. One hand. Lay flat. Lay flat.
Other hand, sir. Other hand.
There's no recording allowed out here. I did not know. There's no recording allowed out here for FBI, right?
You want to play games? You want to play? It doesn't matter, senator or not. You want to resist arrest? You're going to get cuffed, booked, printed. You probably get off because you guys get off of everything. But no, what's your name? You can't go and show up at an ICE facility and break in and not get arrested. And no, Alex Padilla, you can't disrupt Kristi Noem's press conference. You just can't do it in America right now. Sorry. You don't like it, go somewhere else. In case we hadn't seen enough of the delusions that come with Trump derangement syndrome, here's the master of inciting riots herself, old Maxine Waters, that walking case for term limits, who has a theory about the riots since, well, she kind of helped incite one in her own state.
The local police, he should talk to the people that he's had deployed there. And he has a responsibility in all of this. He started this. There should be no violence. He should not continue to support violence. They should not be edged on and, provoked.
Maxine Waters, she's having, she just got her face slammed. You're trying to get into another ICE facility. All right, folks, finally, if you want to see some of the pinnacle lack of self-awareness, well, just watch the soundbite. It's good.
Hello, everyone. I'm Terry Moran, and for almost 28 years, I was a reporter and anchor for ABC News. And as you may have heard, I'm not there anymore. I'm here with you on Substack, this amazing space, and I can't wait to get at it, to get at the important work that we all have to do in this time of such trouble for our country.
Well, that was Terry Moran, formerly of ABC News, who had to have his day on X on Twitter, and he trashed Trump and he trashed Stephen Miller on X, and ABC first suspended him, and then they bounced him out the door. So now he's doing stuff on that wonderful platform, Substack, whatever the heck that is. Again, the broadcast networks are getting slammed in the ratings because they realize that most of America agrees with what President Trump is doing. They can't figure this out. Most of America, it's like 65% agree with him deporting the illegals, all of them, not just the violent ones. All of them would come over illegally. So their numbers are coming down. All right, folks, say again, Ben, what? We have the Trumps on Monday, right? Both Trumps, Don Jr. and Eric Trump, Monday. You're going to not want to miss that. I'm going to New York to do those things. All right, folks, well, War Room's up next. Tell Bannon, get back to these tosses. We want to keep doing the tosses. You let them know on the Rumble and the Gitter Chats.
This is the primal scream of a dying regime. Pray for our enemies, because we're going medieval on these people. You're just not got a free shot on all these networks lying about the people. The people have had a belly full of it. I know you don't like hearing that. I know you try to do everything in the world to stop that, but you're not going to stop it. It's going to happen.
And where do people like that go to share the big lie? MAGA media. I wish, in my soul, I wish that any of these people had a conscience.
Ask yourself, what is my task and what is my purpose? If that answer is to save my country, this country will be saved.
War Room. Here's your host, Stephen K. Bannon.
It's Thursday, 12 June in the year of our Lord 2025. A pretty intense day on many, many fronts in this Third World War, particularly the home front. What's happening here in the United States. I've got an incredible team that's going to walk us through it. We're going to talk about the deep state. So much going on, agriculture, big ag, some mixed messaging from the President of the United States that we'll get to. But I got to start with the situation in Persia, as we call it, or Iran, as the CIA calls it.
It's very confusing. So much going on. So I've got Congressman MTG is on with us, but I want to start in Constantinople or Istanbul, as some would have it, with Kurt Mills of American Conservative. Kurt, can you walk through exactly just the fact pattern of what's happened here over the last 12 to 24 hours? We lost him. Yeah. MTG, you've got, by the way, we just lost our link. We're going to try to get it back up. Congressman Green, you've been pretty adamant. You're a big defender of Israel, but you've been pretty adamant on social media. You don't know what's going on here, but you're very confused or concerned about the war toxins sounding about potential bombing runs or military conflict in Persia. Your thoughts about this, ma'am?
Just to clarify, Steve, I'm America first all the way. And I don't know anyone that wakes up and thinks about bombing Iran. I honestly don't. I haven't talked to anyone that thinks that's a good idea, or even it doesn't even occur to them because it feels like no threat to their life. What we do know is a threat to America is the current war that we are seeing waged by the Democrats, by the foreign nationals waving Mexican flags, and by the anarchists, communist anarchists that are being funded by major leftists and likely linked to the CCP. People like Neville Singham, which we are investigating. And so these are the things Americans are concerned about. And Steve, just to go a step further, you know, of course we stand with our allies. Of course we stand with Israel and all of our allies. However, we've been told for as long as I can remember, 20, maybe 30 years now, that Iran is on the verge of having a nuclear weapon any day. And we constantly hear that scary threat to us, but we've heard it too many times. And Americans are just fatigued and they're sick of it. And we really want to focus on the self-inflicted problems that we've created and fix them right here at home.
Do you get concerned when you hear all these news flashes coming across that we're taking people out of the embassy in Iraq?